Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back. Thanks so much for stopping by and thanks for hanging out. Andrew Najera here at Drew Installs Hardware. Today we are going to be installing an awesome Trilogy alarm lock trim with a Marks USA Panic. This is a start to finish install, and I let the camera record me as I did it. Man, this ended up being over 40 minutes, so I figured we'd speed it up here a little bit for you. And if you like the sped up videos, let me know, and if you don't like them, let me know also. I didn't feel like dropping a 40-minute video on you. We're gonna keep it to the highlights. It is a start to finish install, though. This is what really happened, and this is how it goes, So on this job site, this is about I've probably installed about 30 of these so far. So yeah, we had an awesome supplier who really took the time to make sure we had everything we needed. They set these up kind of for us so that make sure we had a good install, and we really appreciate that. Here I'm putting some tape on the door because once I pop that trim on, I don't want it to fall off, especially a fancy looking trim like this. There's a ribbon cable connector that's got to go through a little hole, and the connector is wider than the hole, so I got to kind of bend it over gently, carefully, so it'll fit through that hole. I'm not worried about those other wires because they're going to just follow right through, and let me kind of nestle that trim into those pre-prepped holes. Happy to have those pre-prepped holes because they're right where they're supposed to be. If I had to prep them, they might be a little bit off. You never know. Yes, sir. So yeah, I could have had my apprentice come over here and hold the trim in while I screwed in the Panic, but I just replaced him with a piece of tape. Actually, I'm really fortunate. I'm working with an awesome apprentice on the job site. He works hard, and he really wants to learn, and yeah, so he was doing more important things at this moment. I could use a piece of tape here to help me. So here's the Marks USA Panic bar. It is a really nice looking Panic bar, I'll say that. Just aesthetically, just from the look, they're very nice looking. I haven't installed a lot of these, but yeah, unpacked all the parts and pieces and the screws and everything, and these came in the box with the hex dog, and we're gonna be installing a cylinder dogging. It's weird because they got the cover on, but they actually got this cover screwed into the Panic. I don't know why they do it that way, but hey, it works. And so now I'm going to be unpacking the cylinder dogging box. And again, our supplier, they really were helpful in making it easy for us. All we needed to do was screw basically the cylinder dogging mechanism into the bar, and they took care of the rest. And that was easy enough, just 3 screws. Yeah, and so this video too is just going to be covering the mechanical portion of this, not the programming and commissioning or startup of the electrified part of this lock. We're a little bit early on here. We're just getting the door lockable for the customer, and see me put the magnet on that door there. That's going to hold up the end of the bar as I get it started. Give me an extra hand over there, and they got these long screws with washers, and so that's what I'm going to start with. And I'm going to start by just getting one screw in. First, you got to get that tail piece lined up there into the back side of the Panic bar. That's how it all works. The delineator is kind of getting in my way of my Panic bar. I'm gonna pull that back. Okie dokie. Yes, sir. And slip that in there. There it goes. And then I'm gonna get that first screw started, and sometimes I stick the screw in there and I can't find where it's going, so you gotta kind of bend over, peek in. Once I see where that post is, I can always get that screw going easily. Now we're gonna tighten that up, but before it's all the way tight, you see those, there's gonna be 4 slotted holes on the head of that panic for the trim. So I'm gonna hold it up as high as I can, tighten it, and then I'm gonna move the end of that bar around a little bit to where all the holes are even, and that makes sure that I'm putting that thing in straight. And then I'm just gonna get the rest of the screws started with my hand, then finish them off with the screwdriver. Sometimes these screws are kind of soft, or the post threads are soft, so doing it all by hand but the screwdriver is nice. The impact's a great tool, but for some things it's not good for, and so that's why I opt for the screwdriver here. And then once those are tight, I'm going to remove that tape. Don't need that tape to hold that trim on anymore. The trim's mounted to the door now through the panic, and I'm going to get me a number here and match so that at least I know I'm installing the panic bar straight with the head of the door. We set these frames, the frames are level, we swung the doors, the door heads are level, and the reveal's great. If we were to then, if I just pull my number and then put a torpedo level on it, maybe it's going to look perfectly level, maybe it's going to look off, but it's going to look straight and nobody is going to say a word because it's right. It looks good, So I could use a level sometimes on some of these doors, and it would look weird. So, take that for what it's worth. Now I'm gonna drill and tap for there's 4 1/4 screws that get supplied for mounting that head. I'm not sure, to be honest, if it's required when you have the 4 holes already going through the door for that's mounting to the trim. I think it is required, but to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. If you were to only use those 4 holes into the trim, I don't think you're going to run into any issues, but I gotta read those instructions a little bit closer, I guess. And so you see there, I'm trying to get those metal shavings off. When you got moving parts and metal shavings, you don't really want those two to mix together, so try to clean it up a little bit. Here on the end, I gotta pull the bar down when I'm drilling the bottom hole, because the chuck can damage the bar a little bit. I'm gonna pull it up when I'm drilling that top hole, just because it's a little bit tight there. Same thing when I go to tap it. I'm gonna push it down when I tap the bottom hole, and I'll pull it up because that chuck's trying to get in there close to the door. So speaking of instructions, always read the instructions. I was thinking about this the other day, and I think of it like this. When I install the first piece of hardware on a job, like the first closer or the first panic like this, I read those instructions the first time like I've never read them before, and like I'm going to get tested on them after, because it's just so important to know those instructions, and the instructions change. I installed the LCN 4040 XP so many times, but over time and over the years, those instructions change a little bit. So at least you want to know what the instructions are saying. And here I'm installing that cylinder dogging kit and putting the third and final screw for the roller strike in the bar for later, once all the seals are on, and we go to set that strike in its final position. Yeah, but you really want to understand the instructions. And yeah, so on the first piece of hardware, I read them like I'm going to get tested after. So even if even if I'm not installing it exactly as the instructions say, as far as the order, if somebody comes and talks to me about it, I can tell them, right, well, the manufacturer says install it this way, and so it's just those instructions are important, and they don't always make those instructions easy to understand. So you have to read them a couple times, and if you don't understand them, ask somebody else. Hey, read this. What is this? How do you read this? Like, what does this mean? So it's just so important. Now the panic bar is on, the trim is on, and let's go ahead and put that lever on. The lever just is a little set screw kind of through the inside of the lever with an Allen set screw, and I just make sure it's tight. All right, now's a good time to test the key. Yes sir, it's working right on. Very good. So that's just basically like a regular panic install. I still got the strike to do, don't I? These strikes tend to sit back a little bit further on the frame than some of the other ones I've done. Yeah, I was trying to think if they did that for a certain reason or just that's the shape of the panic. So yeah, it's just the shape of the panic or where that strike ends up. And they give you two different shims with the strike, and on this job we've been using the thicker shim mostly. So that's the guts and the smart part here of this Trilogy trim. And so here I'm just stuffing all the wires. I'm saving everything, and all I'm mounting today is the stuff that needs to mount for this to get lockable. So I'm pulling out the Velcro for that battery pack, saving everything else in the cylinder dogging box. Save it. You gotta save it. Don't throw it out. Oh, and there's the tiniest little screws you'll ever see on anything that come with this thing. And so this is the mounting plate for that box that has all the brains and the antenna and all that. Because I think these are like wireless network locks. I'm not that smart. I just installed door hardware, so somebody's going to figure it out. So now we're going to drill an 1/8 hole, 4 1/8 holes for this mounting plate, and we're going to tap them with an 832 tap, which is pretty small. And that's the and they're supplying combo wood and metal screws to mount that too. So we're using the supplied screws. Oh yeah, getting rid of those metal shavings. Good job. And I got a little container where I keep a lot of all the small taps that I have. That's like anything under a 1032 I'll keep in this little container. So I got 832s, I think it's 632s even. I'm not sure what I use those for, but so we're going to tap these. The top 2 holes were just the skin of the door, and the bottom 2 were had backing. The backing that's there for the head of the panic. So just be careful with that, and then putting my taps back away. Sometimes I'm installing so much hardware, you gotta do a little housekeeping as you're going, because you can kind of get out of control on the top of that cart with all the tools and parts and pieces and stuff. So just getting that combo screw started by hand, and then we're gonna get the other 2 at the bottom installed. And this actually has a grounding wire, and I could never find a good picture in the instructions on where the grounding wire goes, but I kind of just had to assume it's going to go through one of these mounting holes. I'm not sure if there's a hole in particular they want you to use, but this is my best guess on what they wanted, and I think pretty much it's the only thing you can do. So that's where I put it. Now there are these tiny little black screws that are going to hold that box on. And when I say tiny, I mean tiny. Oh wait, this is the Velcro. But yeah, you'll see the tiny screws here in a minute. I think they want you Velcroing that battery in just so it's not flopping around in the door as the door moves. So I got the battery Velcroed in, and those are those tiny little screws. So I set them on that panic bar, and I'm plugging in the ribbon cable. I'm not plugging in the battery or anything else yet. I probably don't even need to plug in the ribbon cable because it's not getting all hooked up yet, but I just did it anyway. And they give you some I can't remember what they call it. What do they call it? Dielectric. There's some sort of grease you're supposed to use on the connections too once you're hooking up the battery and everything. So yep, that's about it, man. So nice. We gave this door a beautiful panic, a beautiful trim. This is its forever home. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but it's gonna last years and years and years. So that's kind of exciting that I got to install it. So thanks. Oh, let's make sure that's straight. Oh yeah, well, thanks so much for watching with me. Thanks for installing this panic with me. And until next time, happy hardwaring.